Hello, today we're going to be working on a Yamato Z610 Serger, made and built in the 1980s, but extremely reliable, very the heavy duty. It was built for durability, high quality stitching. But there are a number of things you got to do, easy maintenance, but this is going to be a little more complicated because we had an issue with the oil flow. When I looked through here at operating it, when my wife was operating it, there was no oil coming up, so we had to immediately put this out of service. It's important that the oil is getting to the upper half of this serger. So the first thing I did was I removed the lower portion with 4 screws, and I have another video for that, and exposed the 2 filters on the bottom, and they were obscured. I thought this was the problem. One was probably more than 50% obscured. The other one was about half obscured. I said that could do it. Cleaned it out, changed the oil, put in some new fresh oil, lightweight oil, and it still did not have any oil come up. So the next step was, and I also blew out the tubing with an air compressor, and that didn't help. Next was to look at what was going on underneath this cover, these 2 covers here, which easily come, they pop off. So let me just take them off. 4 screws, take out 4 screws. You might have to pry in here with a screwdriver to pop this. But once that comes off, you can take that, put this aside, and take this. See how there's nothing else connects to it, a little thread here. See, it just comes right off and exposes the issue that you may be having, when you expose a problem. Let me just go through some of the anatomy here of what's going on here. So, when the oil pops up through this tube, it hits this little well. Then there's a metal tube that goes down, and it just terminates about 3 inches down there over some specified area of lubrication that's needed. Don't go pulling this thinking it's lint. That's a wick, and that goes down through a tube, and you can see it red, that red tube, and that goes to another area that needs to be lubricated. And then on the side here, these are wicks too that appear to be going to the needle shaft. So you can see that it's very close to going in here. So it's probably lubricating this area in here. So really important that this area gets lubricated, and this is thrown out to lubricate this mechanism, including that wick. So stop using it if you don't have oil coming up through here. Although there is splash technology going on, some of the components go down beneath the oil level, come up, so it lubricates itself very well, the lower half of the serger, but not the upper half. So stop using it and try to find out what's going on. So one of the things you want to do if you own one of these sergers is the first thing you do, if you don't have the owner's manual, so I'm going to show you the owner's manual. So if you don't have, for your particular model, because there are many models, but if you don't have the adjusting and operating manual, and you don't have, there's 2 manuals or 2 books that you need per instrument. So here's the other one, the parts list. So this is extremely important in identifying where things are going. So here is that little well that I had showed you, and then here's the tubing that goes to an oil flow regulator. So this oil flow regulator is, let me just go around here. This little oil flow regulator is, so it's coming through here. Here's the tube, and it's coming down to this little oil flow regulator. Now there's a nut here on the just beneath. So here is where you would turn to regulate the flow, counterclockwise to increase the flow, counterclockwise to decrease the flow. But before you can let me just put that. All right, so now hold on here. Okay, so see now I can turn the screw, but it's tight. You can't turn it. You have to, unfortunately, you got to use a 3/8 long socket wrench. The short sockets won't work because the screw is too tall. And you go in there and you turn it counterclockwise. a couple of times, and then you can move the screw left and right, counterclockwise, clockwise. So what I did is I loosened the screw, turned it 3 or 4 times, and all of a sudden I got oil when I operated. Very happy to see that. Then I tightened up the screw. Now, unfortunately, there's no place in any manual, anything online, that tells you how much flow you should be coming, that should be coming out of here. When I opened it up completely, I had like 6 inches of a well come up, a spout come up, an oil spout, 6 inches. So I brought it down to about 2 inches, and then retighten. You got to retighten clockwise on that nut, and that solidifies that tightness on that screw, right? So it stabilizes the screw by counterclockwise on the nut. And that's essentially it. So now I have flow. I can go ahead and seal this all back up, rethread the machine, and I've got oil flow. Whereas I had gone through 2 steps that I had initially mentioned. I cleaned the filter, no change. I blew out the tubes with a compressor, and I'll show a video of that. And no change. So it was clearly the oil filter somehow, maybe it was obstructed by some lint and just needed it to be opened up again. But you know, that solves the problem. I'm gonna seal this back up, rethread it, see how it's going. But I'm gonna do some videos on, let me just see here, changing the upper knife, the lower knife, the lower, very not complicated at all to do. It's quite simple to do. It's just that there's some mechanics you have to understand to do this. And once you see it, you'll easily be able to do it. Here's the deal. You know, I had a guy who serviced this, and it's tough to get to him. Got to wait. So a lot of these things you can do yourself, but a lot of people, they kind of give up on these machines because they're very difficult to thread. And if you don't thread it correctly, I'm going to do a whole video on threading and little tricks you can use to get to those loopers, because they're very difficult to see in there. It's crazy. But once they're visible, and you maximize the amount that you can see, and little tricks that you can use, and some people have used online that I've learned from, it becomes easy. Because once you get this threaded, it is built for durability. It's high quality stitching. You get consistent stitching and clean overlocks when the knives are really sharp. Everything is sharpened up. You get a very fast cutting machine. You go buy a new serger in one of those fabric stores or a shop. You pay a few $1,000 or more, and it's a lot slower. So if you need to maximize your efficiency, you have something here that was built to operate like 7 days a week, at least 5 days a week, 2 shifts without any issues. So you can see that it's all metal except for the tubing. You have something that's just built for durability, and it's it's one of the most wonderful machine that you can buy online. Go to eBay. You can see these, a couple $100. The whole table assembly for like sometimes $500. And if you get something like this, you're gonna see that this is a very strong, durable machine. And the parts, although they haven't made these in decades, the parts are still out there. And I'll do a video on how to get the knives and how to get some of the parts. There's some supply houses, and there's some forums that that you can talk to people about getting parts. So with that being said, that concludes this video on an oil issue, and we'll keep going, because if you have this machine, it can be a wonderful, durable machine without problems. So anyway, hopefully you have a good selling day.